Tony Khan has stated that Forbidden Door will set the seed for an all-time historic moment at AEW All-In London, but what exactly is he referring to? New Japan and All Elite Wrestling collide this weekend, and the card will see the stars of both promotions go head-to-head and in some cases fight side by side, with championship belts and bragging rights on the line across multiple dream matches that at one stage we never thought we'd see. So who will walk away as the winners and losers in Toronto this Sunday? Well, let's find out as we take a look at my predictions for AEW NJPW Forbidden Door 2023. First, we start off with the pre-show and the Women's Owen Hart Cup first round as Athena takes on Billie Starkz. With Athena being the current ROH Women's Champion and Billie Starkz being a newcomer in the company, it feels to me like Athena is the heavy favorite for this one and we'll go with her as the winner. Adam Cole versus Tom Lawlor is a match that hasn't officially been announced as of this recording, although it will be confirmed tonight on AEW Rampage, where Lawlor made his AEW debut. As for the match itself, the former UFC fighter feels like a solid heel for Adam Cole to face in his quest towards the AEW World Championship, a quest that is currently on hold, but it looks like we're going to head towards that eventually in the near future, perhaps for Wembley Stadium. So for this one, I feel like Cole needs to keep his momentum. Therefore, I predict him as the winner. Next up, let's go to the first title match of the night, and this one for the AEW Women's World Championship as Toni Storm defends against Willow Nightingale. Whilst Willow is currently an AEW talent, she is of course a New Japan champion, currently holding the NJPW Strong Women's title. This feels like the spot that Mercedes Moné would have filled had she not been injured in the finals of the tournament for that belt, although Nightingale has been elevated to a whole new level with that win. With that said, I think Toni Storm should have enough to keep hold of her title, this whilst keeping the strong champion strong by using interference from Saraya and Ruby Soho of the Outcasts. Perhaps this could even lead to a post-match segment which sees Mercedes make her AEW debut, although I think her injury will prevent that from happening this soon. Next up, we have another title match as the AEW International Championship will be on the line in four-way action. This is Orange Cassidy defends against Zack Sabre Jr., Katsuyori Shibata, and Daniel Garcia. The match actually involves three champions, of course with Cassidy holding the international belt, Zack Sabre Jr. being the New Japan World Television Champion, and Shibata being the ROH Pure Champion. With that said, I don't think anyone's going to be leaving this one as a double champ, and I don't think Daniel Garcia will have the gold by the end of the night, therefore I'll go with an Orange Cassidy win, perhaps with Garcia being the one that he pins. Next up, we go to another Owen Hart Cup first round match, this time in the men's side of the bracket, as CM Punk takes on Satoshi Kojima. Kojima is one of the biggest legends in Japanese wrestling history, being one of few men to hold all three of the country's major belts at the same time, that being the IWGP, the GHC, and the Triple Crown Championship of All Japan. According to Fightful Select, the original plan was for CM Punk to take on Kenta in what would have been the Battle of the GTS. However, the New Japan Strong Openweight champion is said to have pulled out at the last minute, leaving AEW and NJPW to find a backup plan. With that said, I get the feeling that Punk will make it to the Owen Hart Cup final, making him my predicted winner, and why not use this as an opportunity to predict the tournament as a whole, as I think it'll be Powerhouse Hobbs versus Punk in the final, with Hobbs picking up the win. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. And before we continue, do you want to get your hands on this weekend's Forbidden Door pay-per-view for just $19.99? Well, if you use the combination of our NordVPN and Fight affiliate links, you can do just that. First, NordVPN allows you to change the location of your device in order to access websites and services that you wouldn't be able to use in your country, and in this instance, a whole bunch of countries worldwide can access Forbidden Door on Fight for the aforementioned $19.99, such as here in the United Kingdom. Although I would recommend using Lithuania, which appears to work better in my testing. Once you're connected, head over to our Fight affiliate link where you can see the pay-per-view for just that price. You'll also have access to the AEW Plus streaming service, which costs just $6.99 a month and contains every episode of All Elite Wrestling television on demand in one place. There is also a 7-day free trial if you just want to test it out. You can also watch Dynamite, Collision, and Rampage live and ad-free. So be sure to head over to our NordVPN and Fight affiliate links in the description below, the perfect tag team for any wrestling fan. And next up we have the Blackpool Combat Club and Friends versus the Elite and Friends, as Jon Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli team up with Shota Umino and Konosuke Takeshita to take on Hangman Page, the Young Bucks, Eddie Kingston, and Tomohiro Ishii. For this one, I'm actually going to predict a Blackpool Combat Club win, and I think that Eddie Kingston may just turn on the Elite, giving them a numbers advantage in the post-match. I feel like this could be the moment that Tony Khan was talking about, as this could lead to the AEW debut of Kota Ibushi, something that we've long anticipated on this channel. This would then set up Blood and Guts at Wembley Stadium, with Jon Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, Bryan Danielson, Eddie Kingston, and Konosuke Takeshita on one side, taking on Kenny Omega, Matt and Nick Jackson, Hangman Page, and Kota Ibushi. And maybe you can even throw in Wheeler Yuta and one more person on the side of the Elite. Maybe Kazuchika Okada. Whilst most people hope that CM Punk and FTR versus the Elite will headline Wembley, it looks like that's probably not going to be set up at this show, given what the main event will be. But if the Blackpool Combat Club versus the Elite does main event, then there's a chance that Punk and FTR lay them out at the end of the show, but I just don't see it at this point. Next up we have Chris Jericho teaming with Sammy Guevara and Minoru Suzuki to take on Sting and Darby Allin, as well as a mystery partner. So for this one we have to make two predictions. First, who's going to win the match, and I think that will be the babyfaces in this one, but who will their partner be? There's multiple options that people have been suggesting. The ones that I've seen the most though are Jushin Thunder Liger, who is retired, but Tony Khan said he wanted to bring him in for the Forbidden Door. There's also Tetsuya Naito, who Jericho's had beef with over the years in New Japan and is one of their top stars that isn't booked on the show, and probably the most common name that I've seen is Bill Goldberg, who Jericho had heat with backstage in WCW. With Darby suggesting that the partner will be somebody Jericho is an enemy of, I think those three men are pretty good guesses, but for me, I think it's going to be Naito, just given the Forbidden Door aspect, and Tony Khan pretty much stomped out any Goldberg rumors, at least for this spot, during the press conference for the show, but maybe he's just throwing people off the scent. And next up we go to the first World Championship match of the night, as Sanada defends his IWGP World Heavyweight Championship against Jungle Boy Jack Perry. The general consensus is that Sanada hasn't yet proven himself to be an IWGP champion, and Jack Perry is coming off a loss at Double or Nothing, with him still yet to take himself to that next level. With that said, both men have something to prove. Either way, I think the prediction is fairly easy to make, and I don't think Jungle Boy is going to leave Forbidden Door with the IWGP Championship, meaning this will be a win for Sanada. With that said, Hook will be at ringside in Jungle Boy's corner, with there perhaps being friction between the two, setting up a heel turn for Jack and a feud going forward. And next up we go to another World Championship match, as MJF, if he shows up, will take on Hiroshi Tanahashi. Despite Max's heavy insistence that he's not going to work talent from an indie company in Japan, he's now ended up with one of the biggest names in Japanese wrestling across the ring from him, that in the Ace. This is of course the second year in a row that Tanahashi has competed for the AEW World Championship at Forbidden Door, with his opponent last year being Jon Moxley, this after CM Punk picked up an injury. This time around I think the result will be the same, as MJF leaves as AEW champion, although you won't find many better babyfaces to stand across from the ring against one of the business's best heels. And next up we have the IWGP United States Championship match, this when Kenny Omega takes on Will Ospreay. The two men have gone one-on-one before, this in January at Wrestle Kingdom, with Kenny Omega's return to New Japan leading to him winning the IWGP US title. With that in mind, it feels like this one is naturally going to build towards a trilogy, and in order to set that up, you either need Will Ospreay to win, or potentially for the match to end in a time limit draw. Whilst the draw is a possibility, it does seem unlikely given that a draw recently happened on AEW Dynamite between Adam Cole and MJF, so I'll go with an Ospreay win for this one. And perhaps Will could even be the extra man for the Elite in the Blood and Guts match. And next we have Bryan Danielson versus Kazuchika Okada, and it feels crazy that we're even saying that. And this is expected to be the main event, given what Excalibur said on AEW Dynamite. The Rainmaker versus the American Dragon is a match that fans could have only dreamed of just a few years ago. This when Bryan was at the top of WWE and Okada was at the top of New Japan. With that said, this business works in funny ways as the two are set to clash in Toronto. This one is difficult to call and I'm not really sure which way to go, but since that's the point of the video, I think I'll go with an Okada win for this one, ending the show with a babyface win. And before you go, make sure you check out how AEW can change wrestling forever.